To begin with, as Reason magazine says, the program was essential until it became dispensable.
Yeah, and this is sort of the point that Senator Ron Wyden, a critic of the bulk collection program, was making today, which is that for years we've been told, or I guess for months since the revelation, we've been told that these were absolutely critical to combating terrorism, that you needed the 3 hops, that you couldn't wait for a FISA court approval of a request, that any time like that would be the difference between potentially an explosion happening or not. And now we get today that, in fact, the intelligence community can apparently live with having to go to the FISA court to get a request granted, with not housing the data itself, with allowing the phone companies to house it, and with allowing the phone companies to ostensibly get rid of it after 18 months. So there is a bit of egg on the face here, or at least a little bit of exposure from past statements made by the Intelligence Committee.
You know, David, to follow on Sam's point there, it feels like we are in the middle of sort of a broad examination, if not a re-examination, of the war on terror and just what sort of how these programs benefited us in terms of keeping the country safer. And I point to both the changing position on the metadata and the collection of phone records, but also, you know, the Senate Intelligence Committee and the CIA and the questions about what exactly enhanced interrogation got us in terms of national security. Do you think, you know, if you could, do you think this will measurably change our national security policy before the end of this administration?
Well, our national security policies have already changed. President Obama put in place a number of changes as soon as he became president. What we're seeing now, I think, is a detailed sorting through both of what happened during the war on terror years, principally of the Bush administration after 9/11, and also what the rules should be going forward. I think Sam's right that the Intelligence Committee's claims about what it needed are now being tested, and what the President has approved is far less than what they had before and said they needed. But by the same token, the records will be kept and can be searched for 18 months with the phone companies holding them. And this idea that it's important to be able to look at who suspected terrorists from overseas may have contacted in the United States, that there's still going to be an ability to do that. And I would guess that most Americans would probably think that that's a good idea. On the question of interrogation policy, there's just no question, I think, in anyone's mind that what happened was grossly excessive, and under our new laws is illegal. And I think the question is how much of the detail of what happened should properly be revealed to the public, and that's now being battled out between the CIA and the Congress, between the Senate Intelligence Committee, as it should be. I mean, that's basically how this dynamic should work.
Can I just jump in on that? The Oversight Committee should look at what the CIA does, and between the two of them, some balance should be struck.
Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think there's always been a tug of war within this administration over how much you should reveal about what we were doing both in the past and, of course, under this presidency with respect to intelligence gathering, with respect to interrogation methods. Remember, when the president took office in 2009, there was a huge swath of the progressive community that wanted him to look back at those interrogations, at the what was ostensibly torture under the Bush administration, and put together a Truth and Reconciliation Committee. His standard line was, let's not look back, let's look forward. And it was primarily only because of what Edward Snowden did that we got a look into what we were doing in terms of intelligence gathering. And so there's always been this tug and pull about how much we should look back, how much we should examine our own policies, our own actions, and whether the public should have the right to sort of judge them. And I think what we're seeing now with respect to today's announcement, but also what's happening with the Senate Intelligence Committee and their back and forth with the CIA, is a sort of reckoning that it has become time to sort of step back and ask the public, are we happy with where we are, or should we make changes? And that also is in with regards to looking back at what happened with the Bush administration.
But, you know, David, on that point, I mean, how